All right. Cool. We just went live. Okay, everybody. So this is we're doing something new here. Ian's going to be interviewing me, but I set up the hang up, and we're experimenting with something new here. So I saw a couple people had checked in, and I'm going to guess that you guys should be seeing the link to actually join the hangout. And then we'll just mute you as you come in, and the rest of you, I'm sure, will be seeing this on the YouTube channel. I'm going to go ahead, Ian, and open up my YouTube channel, just see where everybody's at, and then I'll be focused with you, brother.
Okay, thank you.
All right, it is showing us live, so um, I'll make a post on YouTube real quickly. All right. And you guys should see the link to be able to join the Hangout. So I'm going to stay focused with Ian here. And looks like everything is working. And let's just party then, man. All right.
Hi, Brian. How you doing?
Fantastic. A little bit tired, but that's okay. 12 hours of sleep tonight will make up for that if I'm lucky.
Yeah, namaste to you.
Namaste, brother.
Thank you for letting me take a few moments of your beautiful day then away from the, well, it was red hot UK, and now it's a little bit cooler. So rather than just go with all the chit chat and talk about obviously what's what, can you just tell us a bit about what's been recently happening with you, Brian?
Yeah, let's see. Well, so a couple years ago, I started Level 5 mentoring. It's growing by leaps and bounds. We're touching people all over the planet, having a blast with that. And the main thing that I've been focused on here recently is I started about a year ago. In June of 2012, I did a live event here. And after that was over, I had several people that wanted a lot more, say, intimate connection. They wanted to work a lot more closely with me rather than the automated membership site that I have, Level 5 Mentoring. And so I did a 90-day program, and that has been something that I've repeated now. Every 90 days I bring a small group of people in. I work one-on-one with some, and then in a small group setting with the rest, and we go through 90 days, and it just basically gets more awesome, to use an overused word that I love. It gets more awesome every 90 days, and I'm gearing up right now for the next 90-day program called the Conscious Creators Program. So that's really where I'm focused, and also why I confess to start with, I'm a little bit on the tired side. I've been doing a lot of gearing up over the course of the last couple of weeks towards this. It launches on August the 4th.
Well, if that's what tired looks like, Brian, I'd like to be tired as well, because you look really well, my friend.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, so with that, some of the key ideas of success you've learned, and how could my listeners actually use the key ideas you've learned from that?
Wow, okay, that's a big question, and I gotta warn you, Ian, from me, my definition of success is going to be so radically different. Let me ask you, if I may, just so I get a good handle. The main category, not to put anybody in a box, but your main listener, say, if we drew an ideal listener, what's their background? What are they focused on, so that I can frame this in a way that will be helpful and acceptable to them?
That's great. That's a good question, and back to it as well. The main listeners on my side are people just getting started. Some people starting online, stuck, and within the turmoil, they're looking for too much information overload. They just want to clear their mind. They want some spirituality in themselves, but don't really maybe realize they need that. But something just to help them move forward, break out from the day-to-day run of the world, and actually really find themselves. A bit like the lighthouse that you actually bring out.
All right. Well, I'm glad. I'm even more glad that I asked. Okay. You had a list. You had forwarded me a list of some of the questions, and I looked at it and I thought, man, we could go for 10 hours with that. And so to keep this limited, if you need to throw a rope around my neck and slow me down, Ian, do. But I got to tell you, about a month ago, I started a business training concept with Jack Humphrey and Gina Gaudio-Graves, two just amazing genius friends of mine. And we got this idea of something called Vortex University to share an approach to succeeding, really in business, but online, that doesn't really matter, in any format, just being able to succeed as an entrepreneur. And what I did for my part of this was I focused not on the nuts and bolts, but really on beyond mindset. Most people call it mindset, and I think mindset is completely like missing the boat. It's a lot deeper than that. It's really how you see the universe, how you see yourself, and how you see your place in the universe. And the first thing that I did, the first session 4 weeks ago, was I spent an hour proving that there's no such thing whatsoever as success. That it is a
Wow.
prison. That word is a prison. It is a trap. And like I said, you may have to rein me in because this is a big concept. But most people in so-called self-help, self-improvement, personal development, they start out by focusing on what you say. You got to watch your language. Don't say these words, say these words, and think positive, and all this what I consider superficial crap. Okay, it may be better than nothing, but it's not much better than nothing. And this approach to changing your language, I don't buy into. What I buy into is becoming conscious of your language,
Mm.
because your language reveals what you believe that you weren't aware of. So one of the words that really snags people is success. So if we can have a little fun with this, and hopefully our audience are all going to be adults, because I'm a little bit rough sometimes with the language for some people. But, okay, success to me is bullshit, and here's why. Can you put it in a bucket and carry it? No way. Can you smear it on a sandwich and eat it? Can you put it on and wear it? No way. So this is a word that's called a nominalization. It's when we wrap a concept into a word, and all of a sudden we believe that it actually exists and that it has reality, and then I'm stuck with your bullshit definition of it, and you're stuck with mine, and I'm trying to live up to what everybody else thinks and says and believes that success is, when in fact it is a concept that has no reality. So I apologize. Let me turn my ringer off. I normally am really, really smart about that before starting anything online. Okay.
That's fine.
So
Is it-
now that we got that, success doesn't exist. What do you want your life to look like? Where do you want to be? And if you're making progress in that direction, I don't care how little, then you are, quote, succeeding. You're moving forward. You're stepping into the life that you want. And my question to you, especially you, the listener, especially if you are new at trying to succeed at a new venture, online business, online marketing, affiliate marketing, just getting started as an entrepreneur, would you prefer to chase the illusion of success and all the ideas you have about that, or would you rather actually make direct progress into the life of your dreams, including the finances and the business and the relationships? So with that huge, huge complexity out of the way, what would the tips be? Focus on what you want to do more than anything else, what you're most enthusiastic about, what you're most excited about, what you're most passionate about, and then ask, and look, is there an audience that I can benefit with this thing that I am so excited and so passionate about? If so, how? Think so far outside of the box that you don't even see no boxes, and just start moving in that direction. And if you can find a mentor, by all means, that's one of your first steps, is find a mentor who's already making it in the direction you want to go in, or has already made it to where you want to be, and reach out to them without fear, letting them know, you are my mentor. I don't care what you say, what you do. What do I have to do to be able to work with you? Those would be my top couple tips.
Wow, it's a bit like becoming unconsciously conscious of something. Is that right?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. That actually leads on to some of the things I'd like to ask you in the opposite sense. What would you say you've experienced of any failures along the way, and what did you learn from them?
Oh my God. Well, my life, in one sense, was nothing but a failure until 2 years ago, except for one thing. I put failure in the same bucket as I put success. It has no reality whatsoever. So what now that I got through that whole thing on success, I can do a much shorter version on failure, and then I'll try to just answer the question practically.
Okay.
Success and failure are ideas. And one of the smartest things I believe I've ever heard anyone say about failure is what you do along the way to success. It's not who you are. And so when people use the word failure as I am a failure, they're screwed, they're stuck, they're ruined until they wad that word up and just throw it where it belongs in the trash. But if you can look at failure without an electrical charge on the word, as in, oh no, I'm a failure. Ooh, I'm just like my uncle who was a failure. I'm just all that charge. If you can delete the charge and just see the word as a neutral word, meaning I had a target and I didn't quite hit it. I had a target and I didn't quite hit it. In Christianity, there's a word. I don't subscribe to any religion whatsoever, and I also don't knock any religion whatsoever. But there's a concept in Christianity of sin, S-I-N. A lot of people heard that word. A lot of people use that word. But if you actually study to find the definition of the word, it was an archery term having to do with shooting an arrow at a target, and it meant that you missed the target. Not you're bad, not you're going to hell, not you should be ashamed of yourself. You missed the damn target. Why don't you pull back and shoot again? And so failure I see as missing the target. Well, just shoot again. You got an infinite number of lives. Keep going. So my own story of failure, man, up until age 46, my relationships, my finances, my business, you name it, was a total freaking disaster. I had created a nightmare out of my life just because I came out of a pretty rough, violent, scarcity childhood with extremely low self-esteem, and you will get out of life what you believe you are. If you want principle number one, you'll get out of life what you believe you are. And so I believed that I was unworthy, undeserving, and pretty much just a worthless piece of crap. That was really what I believed about myself based on my childhood. So guess what I created into my life? And when I found out in my early 30s how great I was at making money, I generated 161 million bucks in over 70 different industries, which sounds, that sounds impressive, until you find out that I made most of that money for other company. I personally made and lost a fortune 7 freaking times. And what basically I said, my life today is a result of those failures. The freaking miracle that I live every moment of every day is because of those failures. I looked at my experiences and I said, wow, how did I get here? Without beating myself up anymore, without abusing myself, without making myself wrong, how did I get here? And the lessons and the insights that I gained, I was able to just turn them the other way and create a freaking miracle rocket ride out of my life.
Wow. Well, that's quite amazing. I think most people are stuck like that with self-doubt and self-disbelief with themselves. In business, though, currently in the minute, what is the one thing, if you had to get rid of everything else, would you keep, and why would you keep that one thing?
Ooh, great question. And it's really kind of profound, okay? Because one of the things I'd say right now is I'd keep Google Hangouts.
Wow.
Okay, technology speaking, what you and I are doing right now, I believe that this is the future. This is 100% the future of communication. It's the future of business. It's the future of how people are going to interact. And by sharing ideas and sharing communication on this public forum, you know, we decided to do this a couple hours in advance. You're on one side of the ocean. You're a couple oceans away, actually.
Yeah.
I'm a couple oceans in the other direction. I don't know
I need a big surfboard. Sorry.
Yeah, we're literally thousands of miles and,
yeah.
you know, a dozen time zones apart from each other, and within a couple hours we're able to get online, connect, communicate, and you're able to ask me questions that can benefit you and your audience. I'm able to share information that every time someone asks me questions, I get the answers even more clearly, so it's beneficial to me. I'm getting exposure, we're getting to help people, and who knows how many people are going to see this video. There's a couple people right now in different countries right now live watching this and going, wow, this is beneficial stuff, and who knows how many people will see it over the next few weeks. So that would be it. Aside from technology, what's the one thing that I would keep if I had to get rid of everything else? It would be phenomenal communication skills and focusing on communicating in all of its forms, listening and talking. Because if the internet goes away tomorrow and I'm walking down the road and I see and I'm tuned in, a person is going to show up in front of me that wants my help. And I'm going to be able to assist them by really focusing on excellent communication skills.
Wow. So with that, keeping on the one thing, if you had one skill you would teach everyone else, what would it be and why?
Whoa, that's my favorite question.
Wow.
And it became my favorite question within the last few days, to be frank with you. And it is the summary of everything that I've ever done. So let me give you a tiny little bit of background on this one. A really big story squished down to a minute or less, okay? Because my life was such a hell and such a freaking disaster, I spent about 30 years in high six figures, probably in the neighborhood of $300,000 that I spent on every form of self-help, personal development, studying the law of attraction, belief elimination, meditation approaches, spiritual tools, seminars, programs, weekend retreats, you name it. And in order to do business on the internet, I have to say numbers that I can prove. So I've documented over 150 grand that I spent over the course of thousands and thousands of hours, about 30 years of working on myself, and I ended up in that disastrous place, homeless, okay? But when I sat back and I distilled and I looked at everything that I had ever learned, I was led to, well, I had this miracle that I went in less than 90 days from homeless and hopeless and suicidal to living the dream here in Hawaii and just having my life be this miracle. And what I have done since then, in the 2 years since I started Level 5 mentoring and have worked now with over 30,000 people in 83 different countries and just getting started, I distilled in the last 3 or 4 days everything I've ever learned down into one little nugget, and that skill would be mastering the focusing of your thoughts and feelings. Mastering the focusing of your thoughts and feelings. Because if you do that, you have everything else in life, in health, in relationship, in money, in business, in so-called success, planet-wide, universe-wide. You have everything you could ever want if you master that skill of focusing your thoughts and your feelings in the direction that you want them to go. And a lot of people say it's hard. I don't believe in hard and easy any more than I believe in good and bad, but I will say this. It can be pretty damn challenging because 99.99999% of the people on this planet have had their focusing programmed by society and culture and parents to where we have these habitual thought patterns that we constantly go to the same crap. And if you want to know if this is true for yourself, amazing, beautiful listener, just look at your life and ask yourself this question. Do I keep getting the same shit that I don't want over and over and over? Do I keep noticing the same landscape over and over and over, getting what I don't want over and over, not getting what I do want over and over and over? Does it keep looking the same over and over and over? And if it does, I submit to you that it's because you have practiced and mastered this unconscious focusing of your thoughts and feelings in the same unproductive areas. So being able to turn and master that to focus on what you do want is everything.
Wow. So would you, with that focus and feeling, would you relate that to organisations? So you must have dealt with lots of different organisations and companies. What would you say would be their biggest mistake, and what would you suggest them to do it differently with the sense of focus and feeling that you just said?
Let me see if I follow the question. You're saying, like, you're basically saying what is a technique for being able to actually do that focusing?
Well, in a sense, what I know you could suggest a technique, but you've dealt with a lot of different organisations and companies as well, presumably.
Yeah.
And what would you say your opinion are, and the biggest mistakes, and how you could suggest it makes them or helps them differently? As in, would it be focus and feeling? But how would you help a company to focus and feeling all their organisation, all their people?
Okay, good. Now I get it.
Yeah,
Well, let me go back to prior to my level 5 existence, which started a little bit over 2 years ago. I was a musician for 15 years. From some 17 to 32, I was a professional musician. At 32, I got into sales and business, and I ended up generating that 161 million in a really short time period by working with dozens of different companies, from multi-billion-dollar organizations down to the smallest mom and pops. I had a really wide open experience of business there. And what I would say that the main thing that I did, I would go in to help the company, but I realized there was no such thing as a company. It was just people. And I'd go in to help the business, and I always found, well, there's no business here. It's just a concept like success and failure. It doesn't exist. There's no business. There's no companies. It's human beings communicating effectively or ineffectively with themselves and with their marketplace and with their vendors and with their own employees and associates and vendors. And so the biggest mistake is misdirecting thought and feeling. Now that I look back at it, it's interesting. No one's asked me this type of a question in a really long time. And when a company, which is an individual or a group of individuals, right?
that's right.
It's
Yeah.
really tricky. It's really tricky to actually master that thought and be able to hold it, to completely eliminate the idea of a company or a business. It's individuals, it's human beings communicating either ineffectively or effectively with themselves and others. And how do we communicate with ourselves? By focusing our thoughts and feelings. So when we focus our thoughts and feelings ineffectively, we get shit we don't want. How's that for some high-tech science? And when we turn and focus our thoughts and feelings in the ways that are counterproductive, we start to get more and more of what we do want. And that opens us to be able to communicate effectively with everybody else, including our potential customers, the people that are going to buy our stuff. And now we move into the magic. So I would say, to summarize that answer and that question, it would be the biggest mistake made is inaccurate focusing of thoughts and feelings, which leads to inaccurate or inoptimal communication. And the way to turn that around is to focus on directing the thoughts. And I have one little anecdote that I'll share. I have a lot of clients that work with me in mentoring programs and a lot of clients that work with me in one-on-one settings. And I have one multi-billionaire client that calls me every once in a while, and I am sworn to confidentiality, obviously, with everybody. This is the only client I have that will not give me a testimonial, is just unwilling to communicate that he's dealing with a weird Hawaiian guru, whatever that means. I'm not a guru, but a lot of people see me that way, call me that. And so, but this guy owns one of the biggest companies in the world. He's the sole owner, an amazing, powerful, brilliant guy. And when he feels stumped, he calls me. And all that I do is I help him to redirect his thoughts and his feelings. And he's completely transforming and revolutionizing his life. And what I found from working with him, as well as tons of millionaires, etc., he's my only multi-billionaire client, but it doesn't matter. I help homeless people, that are at a McDonald's using their smartphone because they don't have internet at home, don't have a computer. And I help billionaires, and almost everybody is dealing with the same crap, and that is habitual thinking based on a flawed paradigm of what they think they are and what they think the world is.
So it's the same as everyone's dealing with the same paradigm. Everyone's got the same amount of time. Taking on to the time point is, as you and I know, there's no such thing as time or time management and self-management of 24 hours. It's the same for everybody. What would you say your techniques that you use or methods that you've used each and every day to time manage yourself?
Well, we're just going to be honest, right? With
Yeah.
every question. Some are easy for me to answer, and some not so much. And the reason is I am probably the world's worst at time management. And I agree with you that it technically doesn't really, time management doesn't really exist. Time is doing its thing. But what I focus on, because I've always been the world's worst, I'm one of those loose cannons, okay? Like, it takes a team of people to tie me down, to keep me from breaking things, because I'm just going in every direction, following whatever inspiration leads in the moment. And so the only thing that I have that I can really offer, and it'll work probably for everybody, but it might not be the best approach for everybody, and that is to focus on what you love, focus on what you want, focus on where you want to be and how great things are now and how great you want them to be, and you will find inspiration leading you to take the actions to move yourself in the direction that you want to go in, and you won't really have to whip yourself or manage yourself. It'll just become really automatic for you, because there's nothing like being inspired. And I listen to a lot of brilliant teachers and mentors and coaches. I really just surround myself with that type of stuff. And a great mentor once said that one of the greatest things you can ever do is inspire yourself. Inspire yourself. And I actually made a set of images that I keep beside my computer here, and one of them is an image of an Alex Gray painting of this energetic physical. It's not showing the physical body, it's showing the energy fields of a human being that's in this like ecstatic position, and I superimpose the words over it. I inspire myself, and I remind myself of that daily, and I would remind you, listener, inspire yourself. How do you inspire yourself? What are you excited about? Where do you want to be? What's great right now? Where do you see yourself that would be the highest ideal that you could ever reach financially, emotionally, in your relationships, every aspect of manifestation? Focus there, and it will actually turn into a magnet that just keeps pulling you into that future that you want to be in.
So I like that idea. So what you're saying, you have like a vision board, and then you put all your focus into the vision board that you want to use to keep yourself focused, and in a sense it's all about focus you and utilizing the time that everybody's got, because we've all got the same, and by doing that it brings you forward. So every time you feel you're getting lost or sidetracked, you look at the vision board, it refocuses you back to where you are.
Absolutely
Wow.
right. Absolutely
I mean,
right.
pictures paint 1,000 words, and we need to use that a bit more. So everyone would say that we all have a happy life and life is balanced. How do you make sure that your life is not all work and not all play?
Okay, well, here we go. That's another one that I just got to be,
Well,
brutally honest, because I don't work as much as I want to. I've got 3 kids, 3 little ones out here. They live with their mom, not too far from me. And when I'm not working, they get pretty much every minute of me. And I make absolutely certain when I wake up in the morning, the very first thing is a walk or a swim, no matter what. I'm going to get some physical activity. I absolutely put my health and my energy first, because without that, what else is there? So I think I could say really almost the same answer as the last question, largely inspiring myself to where do I want to be. Well, I want, when my kids, when I'm laying down, at 125, when I've had my last day and I'm walking around telling everybody I love you, I'm leaving, I'm leaving my body today, I want my kids to be looking at me, that's the best freaking dad that has ever lived. That
wow.
guy did it. That guy loved me. That guy gave absolutely everything. He inspired himself. He inspired me. So that is on my, so to speak, vision board. It's something I look at every day. What kind of physical shape do I want to be in? And what kind of shape do I want to give to my partner when I have a partner? That's at the very front. How do I want my energy to be when I'm standing up in front of a group, or when I'm doing a session, like this, where we got several people listening, and I want to benefit them? and I've got you here to ask me questions to benefit your audience. I want to benefit you. I want to benefit everybody. Where do I want my energy? So by focusing there, I don't have to think about it. I'm already being drawn into that awesome future that I want of enthusiasm and energy and happy children and an amazing partner and an audience of me and my business who say, damn, that guy gives.
Mm.
So it really keeps me balanced.
I've always found you give, Brian, and no matter what, you always give so much and so much value. That leads me on to some of the points or some of the best pieces of advice you've received, and why do you consider them so valuable?
Well, now that you asked some great questions, my man.
Yeah, because I've got a great person to ask, that's why.
Alrighty then. Well, it works. I'll tell you what, man. When I got into sales at 32, I got into business at 32. I had been a professional musician from 17 to 32. Here I was, about as in the dark as anybody could possibly be. And it's weird because I was a fanatical student from the age of 4. Like, one of the things that my dad, who meant well, okay, he meant well, but he really literally taught me that I was a total stupid idiot, that life is a bunch of suffering, you need to hide, and you find a crowd and hide, because if you're visible, you're so stupid and ugly and worthless, you're going to be a target for abuse like I was. That was literally what he believed, and that's what he taught me. And so don't feel sorry for me. That was a long, long time ago, everybody. And I made my way through all that. But because of that, because he told me how stupid I was, I became a fanatical student. I wanted to be the greatest genius in the world. So at 4, I could read. At 6, I was reading on a near adult comprehension level. I've been studying fanatically since I was a kid. But I was like an egg, this huge head of information balanced on a toothpick. I had no spiritual core. I had no emotional integrity or balance whatsoever. And I got into my business career so late at 32, I just became fanatical about looking for mentors, finding people that were succeeding at what I wanted to succeed at. And I'll tell another one of these short stories here. I was working with a marketing company, and there was a guy who had been with this company, 44-year company. He'd been with them 20-something years. He was their #1 rep for 22 years out of hundreds of sales and marketing reps in the field. This guy was a legend. And I had a manager where I lived in South Carolina, but I called this guy and I said, listen, you're not my manager. You'll never be my manager. I'm not going to move to Chicago. But my manager's pretty good, but you're like God, man. I want to learn from you. Could I come up there? If I come up on my dime and I get a hotel, could I go through your class that you put your guys through for a week? And he said, if you only knew how fucking smart you are, and if you only knew how few people have the brains to do what you just did, you come up here and you can go through my class, buddy. You go for it. I admire what you just did. So I got up there, I went through his class, and at the end of the week, I felt like I hadn't really figured out what the hell he was doing that was so different. I just didn't quite see it. And so I said, could I go through your course again? He said, dude, you just became my favorite. You're my favorite student. You're the only person that's ever done what you just did. And so he introduced me to a couple of other legends in the company, guys that were 30, 40 years older than me, that had been around the block, that were masters at their craft. And this one guy pulled me aside and he said, I want to give you the best tip that I can ever give anybody. He said, you deserve it. I want to give it to you. He said, you're already kind of doing it. He said, but make it explicit. Seek out #1. Seek out #1. And he talked for a couple minutes, and then I took that idea and I developed it over the next few years to where basically anything that I wanted to do, I would research and find out who is the #1 person in the world doing it. And I would find a way to get to that person, no matter what. Got very creative about it. You can get anything you want in this world, you can do it. Okay? Don't think people are hard to get to. You can get to them if you really want to. And I would go straight to the #1 person in the world at whatever it was that I wanted to be able to do, and I would say, listen, you're #1. I plan on taking you down to #2. Would you take me on as your mentor? Ha ha ha. And the funniest thing I found was that number ones will almost always help. Almost always. They may give you a little bit of hell to make sure you're serious about it, but they will almost always help. And if they won't, find number two and you guys gang up and take number one down to three. so now you got to help me because I went so far with my story that I completely lost track of what your initial question was.
Right, let's go back to it. All successful people view a life through all their actions and thoughts. That's what we're really looking at. And you feel, and they're filtered. What's yours, and how does it manifest within itself? In a sense, it's part of the same question.
Give it to me again. I didn't quite follow it.
Right. All successful people have a view of life through which all their actions and thoughts are filtered. What's yours, and how does it manifest itself? It's partly cut in the question that I asked you originally into one.
So you're saying what, like the philosophy of life, basically? Am I hearing you right?
Well, successful people have a view of life. I mean, everyone, like you said earlier, that you've got, like, your focus is one thing in life, through which all their actions and thoughts are filtered.
Filtered. Okay, that's
filtered. Yeah. Sorry, it's my UK slang compared to the US.
I get it now. For me, it's paradigm. It's beyond any view or any concept. It is the people in my definition of success. Okay, remember. Very different. In my definition of success, the people that are truly succeeding, the ones who are able to create the lives that they really want to create, what they filter life through is a completely different paradigm. It's not just a thought or a thought system. It's a completely different paradigm. And am I moving in the right direction now with your?
Yeah, that's why I've changed the question a little bit, but it's to do the main thing, which is your view of life, and would you say through people's actions and the thoughts that you've had, that you filtered them down, what's your main thought on life, and how does it manifest itself, or how do you manifest itself? I mean, that's maybe part of your program, isn't it, really?
It is. That's the thing. I'm living my vision. I'm living my mission. And it's that the whole filter, the whole thought, the core that everything in my life filters through is that I'll make this directly to you, the listener. Okay, so that's you, Ian, and that's everybody that's watching on YouTube, everybody that's going to watch the replay. My mission, my vision, my focus, my philosophy, my core concept that everything in my life filters through and everything else manifests through is that I look around the world where almost everybody believes in some way or another that we're separate, we're distinct, we're limited, resources are limited, and that we live in a scarcity universe made out of physical stuff, and we are meat suits. Even the so-called gurus, even the spiritual people, the vast majority who talk about how we're all energy and we're all one, they're still living as if they're a meat suit. And it's all separate.
Could you explain what you mean by a meat suit? Sorry.
Yeah, a physical chunk of flesh that's a victim. That's a victim of time and space. Whereas the reality is that there's the universe. Uni is one, and verse is a song or a sound. The universe is one sound. It's one vibration. It's one energy. Infinite, eternal, perfect, complete. Some of it shows up as gold, and some of it shows up as lead, and some of it shows up as crap, and some of it shows up as tooth enamel, and some of it shows up as aluminum. But if you go down low enough and small enough, it's all actually one energy that really isn't differentiated until you get to the physical level. So if the universe is infinite, unlimited, eternal, perfect energy, and I'm part of the universe, then what am I made of? Infinite, unlimited, eternal, perfect energy. So that means all my judgments, all my thoughts about right and wrong, good and bad, up and down, left and right, positive and negative, success and failure, all those thoughts are actually just thoughts. They're just thoughts. They're nothing but thoughts. And when I get caught in those thoughts, I'm a victim again, and I'm stuck, and I have to figure out, but if I just move back to that core paradigm, if it's energy and is perfect and eternal, then so am I. Well, that changes everything. Changes how I'm going to interact with other people, because, whoa, I look at you and, oh my God, even though my government told me that you're a terrorist, and even though my grandma told me that your race is those bad people, even though my culture told me that the way you dress, well, there's something wrong with that, if I look at you as infinite eternal energy, then holy cow, namaste. We got to find a whole nother way to play together and interact that honors us both. So that one core idea just changes everything. You and I are that infinite energy, so let's cooperate. There's no competition here.
Mm, that's really interesting. I'm just thinking that actually leads on to one of the next questions. It's quite interesting that each question leads on to the next.
Yeah.
With successful people are great communicators, or most of the great successful people are great communicators. About that they're massively different styles between each of the communicators. What do you feel are the essential skills in communicating your ideas to others?
Okay, well, the first one would be beyond the skill. More important than the skill, first of all, would be having a paradigm that actually serves, a paradigm that supports and protects, not protects, but nurtures and supports. And once you have that, it puts you in a place of relaxation and peace where you can communicate. And I see the highest skills, the highest focal points are really seeking the highest possible service, not because people need help, not because I need it, because an infinite, unlimited being of energy doesn't actually need anything. That's just like success and failure and good and bad and right and wrong. But because it's what I want, it takes me to the place I want to be. So focusing on the highest service and the highest integrity, the highest transparency, the highest giving, and the biggest receiving. And that leads to the next most important skill, which is listening. And the way the best way I've ever found to talk about this is the way I share it with my kids, which is listening with our eyes and ears and heart. With my kids, if we're sitting and communicating, in fact, interesting, I made a video today about heartfelt listening. It's very.
That's why I watched that today. It was amazing. Yes.
Okay, nice. Yeah, it totally ties into this. So I tell my kids, if I'm talking to one of them and they're looking away, and I say, honey, like, how do we listen? And they'll, oh, I know. And they'll turn and look because they know it's eyes, ears, and heart. So when I'm dealing, I believe communication is everything, and I believe everything is communication. And I'll digress one step that'll bring us maybe even higher on this when it's done. I believe the universe is communication. It's all that infinite energy communicating with itself in ever more complex forms just to have the experience. No real purpose, but what a great purpose that is, to experience itself. So when you and I communicate, we are two flavors of the exact same energy sharing, and if we do it from, wow, namaste, I'm light and you're light, and we do it with the highest service, then I'm focused in this place where I can listen to you with eyes, ears, and heart, and I can hear what you're actually looking for. I can hear, on some level, what the people that are watching this right now are hearing, what they're listening for, what they're asking for. I can actually hear and feel that if I'm really tuned in. So listening with eyes, ears, and heart lets you hear way beyond the words that the person's saying, because very often, especially if you're dealing with someone who is not at this point a communication master, they don't know how to ask for what they really want. But if you're listening with eyes, ears, and heart, you'll actually hear it and you'll be able to give a lot more, and that sets up that reciprocity within the universe.
They do say that you should listen, and I use the analogy, you've got 2 ears, 2 eyes, 1 mouth. You should listen twice as hard, look twice as hard, but I actually feel exactly what you said with the heart. If you feel it's right, it's your gut feeling, and people need to care about each other at the end of the day, rather than just seek for yourself. I think, like you said, it's all about sharing and sharing the love and sharing those vibrations of the universe out there, because all the goodness will come back, a bit like karma. And let's have a look. So there are a couple more points I'd like to sort of finish off with. you've said about Google Hangouts is a technology breakthrough, but would you say there's another one? What do you see as the next technological breakthrough? If we take it maybe into your world, you've had a lot of breakthroughs with spirituality and mindset and different things. Would you say there's a technical breakthrough that you had that you could say or explain to me? I know the Google Hangouts is one, but is there anything else?
It brings up a couple things. Really, not so much a technical breakthrough, but just using video, to communicate. Like I see, so Google Hangouts are video elevated because it's mutual video, all right? And then the next thing is just video. Like I carry my smartphone everywhere I go. When I have my backpack with me, I don't drive here. I walk everywhere I go. And so I very often have my backpack, and I've got my video camera in the backpack. When I take my laptop with me, I take my webcam with me. And on a moment's notice, if I get an idea, I do journal a lot, but if I get an idea, man, video is the way to go. So I get an inspiration, and I can, within 30 seconds, have one of these things turned on and be recording the idea to be able to share with tens or hundreds or thousands of people as soon as I get to an internet connection. So that's not such a breakthrough, but just as far as my priority of tools and technology that I use.
Wow, it's just a good thing to maybe keep your phone with you all the time and do so. I've started doing now a lot of off-the-cuff video blogs for myself, even though I've not posted a lot of them as yet. But I want to collate them together. But that's quite a thing. Just keep it all technology. Technology's growing at such a fast rate with the phones and the. I remember carrying a phone a few years back, and the phone was the size of a brick.
Yeah.
And it's changed because I'm like 47 now, so I'm in that part of the time of your life that things change. I actually thought you were younger than that, but that's it's maybe just the way you've actually taken on life and your enjoyment within it. Let's go back to the questions then. On the side of management, for any tasks or processes, in the sense with managing your tasks and processes, that leaders, they say leaders is for people with processes. What do you see as the three key traits of successful leaders with tasks or processes?
I'm definitely the worst in the world to ask that question.
Right. What do you then use? What do you do then? Is any tasks for you or processes that you use?
I tell you what I do. I found, I'm going to give kudos to somebody, okay? And that is Brendan Burchard, who I consider Brendan just a great leader, a great genius. And because I am such a loose cannon, and because I have never been organized, I have no problem with becoming more organized, but I believe that you work with what you have, and don't necessarily try to turn all of your weaknesses into strengths. Okay, focus on your strengths. And I have a pretty cool team of people that I love that show up, that help me to stay organized. But because I do have tasks, Brendan put out a little tool that I think it's for free still on his website, and is a one-page little planner where you literally list out the 3 most important tasks. How about this? Kudos, Brendan. You list out the 3 most important tasks or projects that absolutely have to get done that day. What are the steps that have to be done, people that are involved, and what the priorities are. And I start with one of these every morning, and I actually get some stuff done, despite my wild, loose cannon approach to life. I actually get some stuff done largely because of this, and I usually stay on task until I get it done because of that. So I'm just telling you that's not my forte. So I don't want to mislead anybody with that one.
That's cool because it's a bit like a to-do list, but then you actually put it down. It's more focused than that. There's a guy called Brian Bartman, and like I say, kudos to people. He creates a to-do list, like a goal list for each day. But then what he says is when you've done your first goal, you should revisit your to-do list or your goals list. I actually don't call it goals now. I call it a promise list because you don't break promises, but you tend to break goals. So it's a good analogy of looking at it. And in that sense, you then would follow the list, do the first one, and then reprioritize when you've done the first one because you may not need the second, third, or fourth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Right.
a couple more questions, my friend, and then we can call it a day. But
Right.
it's just so interesting. I could go on all day, but you've got time, and time's limited, and we appreciate it that you've given it today to all the listeners and all the listeners out there in the world that will see this in the future. It
Glad.
it, it said that management for tasks and processes that people have there, and information is widely used today. What is your advice, or what would you say advice dealing with the mountains of paperwork? I know maybe it's not your good forte in this, real or virtual, that everyone has ploughed through these days. How would you say you actually plough through your paperwork or your studying? I mean, it'd be nice to see, or I will put that picture of your books, and I saw an old picture on I think on your profile. I saw it that you had all the books, and you took a couple of pictures of all the information that you had. But how
Yeah.
do you plough through yours?
I gotta say, I'm very weird on that question. Okay, I'm not quite as bad of a resource as I was on your last question. This is just something that's very unusual and it's new for me. I lived my life. Okay, there's a concept. Rich Schefren, I consider him one of the greatest, just a master. This guy is an online master, and I got the idea from him, and I know he's picks it up from other teachers as well. But the idea of just-in-time learning as opposed to just-in-case learning. I was a master procrastinator, and I spent most of my time on just-in-case learning, which means, look at this new thing. I better learn that. This is exciting. And most of us use learning as a way to prevent ourselves from actually doing anything.
Mm.
And so most of the learning is unnecessary. And by moving into just-in-time learning, oh, wow, okay, I just decided that I am actually going to use this piece of equipment. I'm going to learn how to use it right now, and I'll be using that piece of equipment in a matter of minutes or hours. Okay? So making sure, first of all, that I'm not learning anything that isn't absolutely essential for what I'm going to be doing. That filters out 98% of the crap right there. And then from there, making sure that you're not an opportunity maniac, that you're actually focused on your mission, you're focused on your agenda. So get clear about what it is that you want to accomplish, and then you'll be able to determine, is this piece of information essential or is it not? And if it's not essential, listen, if you neglected your email for 3 weeks, really now, would you die? No. Would any of the people that sent you emails die? Probably not.
Maybe.
Okay, it depends. If you're a doctor,
Depends, yeah.
theoretically, okay? So
Mm.
the fact is that the huge majority of the stuff that we have made important is just stuff that we do to keep ourselves feeling like we're busy while keeping ourselves from doing what would actually get us where we want to be. So just filtering the crap out and getting totally focused on where you want to be, and then letting that be your guiding light is the best way I know to just eliminate. Then guess what? There's not that much to get through. It's pretty easy to get through, and if you're focused on task, it'll pull you right through that next learning, because you want to get to the next thing. You want to get to that next stage.
That's what I find. A lot of people, even myself, is we focus on learning new things all the time, and a lot of time we don't need it. This is why I'm putting together experts like yourself together that in certain fields that can help people move forward quicker, because at the end of the day we don't need all the stuff. We don't need to know everything. We learn to walk, but do we need to know everything? We don't need to know how the limbs work. We don't need to know everything. It just happens. So just go with the flow. And this is why I'm putting together all these things to help people achieve, and short steps. And the way I'm looking at modeling and taking tips and advice from people like yourself who's been through the long journey is I'm going to create a plan of action so people can take steps by it. They can accomplish the first step, and they can't go to the next step until they've achieved the first. But it won't be lots and lots of fluff. It will be lots and lots of stuff, quality stuff. So one question I'd like to ask yourself: would you like someone to ask you? What would be the one question? Let's rephrase it in the right way. The one question that you would like to be asked by yourself, what would that one question be that would enable you to share your key thoughts and successes? If someone could ask you that one question that would share it, maybe not, because I know you like to expand on things. Your one question that you'd like to be asked to actually expand on your successes.
Let's see. I would say the best question, that was a big one, and I would say
It
the
is.
best question that someone could ask me is, that would enable me to help them the most in the fastest, simplest, straightest route. You can tell I love great questions, okay? The one question would be, how can I use my awareness and my resources to create the life of my dreams in the most speedy, effective, and efficient way possible? That's the ultimate question someone could ask me.
So I'll just ask you that then.
Okay? Recognize that you are, my answer would be, recognize that you are an infinite, unlimited, eternal being of light, no matter how weird that sounds. And until you get that, anything else I tell you is a waste of time. But once you get that, once you get through enough science, you get through enough spirituality, enough awareness to realize, wow, I am an infinite, unlimited being of light. All my assumptions are now pointless. All the crap that I believed is now of no effect. So now, what do? You begin to focus on what you want, the way you want it to be, the way you want to feel, and what you want to experience in your life, both now and in the next moment and in the long run. And focus on nothing else from this moment forward. Now, that opens up the reason why I'm a mentor, the reason why my business is Level 5 Mentoring, is because what I found is when someone does make that decision, that's where they want to go. With years or decades of practice going in the opposite direction, it's really great to have a support system there, nudging them, reminding them, guiding them, reminding them, nudging them, guiding them, reminding them as frequently as possible, and where they can go to ask questions to be reminded, oh, that's right, yeah, okay, so rule number one is I'm an infinite, unlimited, perfect being of light, and number two is focus my talents, my thoughts, my resources, my mind, my emotions only and exclusively on what I want, how I want to feel, where I want to be, what I want to experience next in the short run and in the long run. And that means don't do nothing else. But I've been doing almost nothing else my whole freaking life, focusing in the opposite direction on all these other topics. So does that, with no real fine-tuning, does that come through pretty clear?
It does. I think we all focus on lots of different things. Some are maybe relevant, some are not. I mean, I always use the analogy: if you lost your memory and came back and someone told you someone totally different, you would not know no different. And I always say I'm now open, or I would say I've been open for a long, long time, to everything that's out there. I will listen to everybody. I will not judge anybody, and I will not try to put my judgment on anybody. It's their choice. And there's so many profound things in the world that we do not know, or we do not allow ourselves to know. This is why I want to share your Level 5, and I want to leave with a couple of a couple of last smaller questions. Is how did you actually come on to Level 5? I know you actually called it the Lighthouse, but where did Level 5 come from, or how after that we explain Level 5 came from? Can people find out about you because they maybe not know who you are, where to get you? But Level 5, didn't it used to be called the Lighthouse?
Well, the Lighthouse is in the Level 5 mentoring program.
Right.
We kind of jokingly and lovingly call the members lighthouses. And there's a little story behind that we don't have time to go into right now, but just basically the idea that we're all beings of light, and when somebody wakes up, their light turns back on. It was never off, but oh, it comes back into the world. Whoa, now they can see and they can create the life of their dreams. But the way Level 5 came about was I looked at everything I had ever learned of all self-help and personal development and all the stuff that I had been through, and I realized that there are 4 paradigms that I can go through super, super quickly here. 4 paradigms that are nearly universal in government programming, in education, school systems, self-help, religion, and they boil down to Level 1. It's amazing how many people still live at Level 1, and no level is better or worse. Nobody's bad or anything like that. It's just that it's different levels of awareness, okay? So level 1 is largely caveman awareness, okay? And that is, I'm a body, I'm a meat suit. I have to do battle with the world and kick ass and take names to bring the bananas home so my family can eat. It's me against the world. I'm a body, and that's all there is to it. Number 2 is mind or mindset, and that is, I'm not a meat suit. You dumbasses are meat suits. I'm powerful. I have a mind. I run businesses. I do things in order to get my body and other people's bodies to do things for me so I can get the bananas and feed my family. And level 3 is the heart, and we're moving into a higher consciousness here. The heart paradigm, the third paradigm is, well, actually, I'm not the only one here. Ian, you're here too. Maybe there's some way that together we could like not fight so much, and we could find a way together to get more bananas for both our families. Cooperate a little bit. Fourth is religion and spirituality. And religion and spirituality up till now has talked a lot about how we're all one, and then immediately gone into fighting about how but our one is better than your one. So the idea that we're one is a great idea, and well, how can we take everything into account? That's the fourth paradigm. And as I looked at that, I realized, well, what would a fifth paradigm be? Level 5. What would that be? That would be, because I am an infinite, unlimited, because the universe is perfect, unlimited, eternal energy, therefore I am, therefore you are, there's actually no division, no separation. We can eliminate all possibilities of competition and not only not have to fight and battle to get enough bananas, but eventually we can just manifest bananas by thinking about them. And not only bananas, but passion fruits and guavas and whatever else we may want. And so that I had this clever little idea. The marketer in me said, if I call it Level 5 Mentoring number 1, that's pretty cool because I can explain the paradigms. But a lot of people will hear Level 5 and say, damn, I don't even know what the first 4 levels are. What's this all about? And they would tune in and get curious. So, and the last part of your question, people can find out about it at Level 5 Mentoring. And it's just like what's showing on my little logo down. Let me see, how do I do this? There it is.
This side, yeah, that's right.
Mentoring.com, level5mentoring.com, and I've got a whole lot of information there. I've got tons of videos that are being added to this YouTube channel constantly. So if you subscribe to this channel, you'll be able to actually see, you'll get notified every time I upload a new video, and I'm starting to upload a lot more every week with a lot more content on different topics.
Wow, that's amazing. It was really interesting when I first found you, Brian, and I started watching. So everybody needs to get and just check this guy out, see where he is, either join the program or follow him along. Sometime the experience that you'll have is well, it's just overwhelming. Well, it's not actually overwhelming. It's pleasantly enlightening, I would say.
Good. I prefer that over overwhelming.
Maybe it's overwhelmingly enlightening.
Yeah.
Namaste, my friend. Thank you.
Namaste. Thanks, Ian.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
God bless.